All right, hey, so, all right, let me start over here. See? It's gonna be harder with y'all because y'all make me laugh all the time.
It's okay.
In action. Hey, Jason with J. Allen Photography here, and I've got Selah, one of my models that I will be working with. And what we're gonna actually do today is, I'm gonna shoot a couple videos, but this first one here is all about depth of field. And to me, it was something that just like was a mind blow to me when I finally realized what was happening with the camera and how I can actually see it using an app on my phone. I don't use the app anymore, but as a newer photographer or portrait photographer, it's fantastic. It's a fantastic tool, and it can really help improve your work. So, Selah, thank you so much for your time. Selah, what is your Instagram?
Selah MCK.
Selah MCK. I'm actually going to go ahead and put it there on the screen, so you can follow her, you know, and hopefully follow what we're doing here. So, give me just a few seconds. We're going to get it set up. I'll show you the app, and we'll go from there. So depth of field, I'm not a technical person. You won't ever see me get super technical in videos, but I want to try to explain it as best as I can explain it without it taking too long. So depth of field is basically what's in focus and what's out of focus. So with the camera and with the lens, depending on your aperture, this lens is an 85mm f1.2 aperture. And so because of that f1.2, what that really does is that allows me to pinpoint focus on my subject and just completely blur out the foreground and the background behind that subject. And what you see a lot of times is that close-up portrait. I'm going to post a photo that I do with Selah, so you can kind of get an idea of that close-up. I can, if I'm close enough with my lens and my camera, I can get her eye tack sharp, and the nose will start to fall out of focus, or her cheeks will start to fall out of focus. And so that's the depth of field is really, really small. But if I put her a distance away, I can actually get her completely in focus where the foreground and the background are completely out of focus. But how do I know what that distance actually is? There's an app. The app is called Digital Depth of Field. And so it allows you to put in the type of camera you have. I'm using a full frame camera. If you have a crop sensor camera or APS-C, you know, it's got that crop that's 1.5, 1.6, 1.7 crop. You can put that in here. I'm using a 35mm full frame camera, so I've got that in my field. I'm using a 85mm lens. My aperture is 1.2, and I can put in the distance that I am to the subject. Just reading this chart here, 85mm f1.2 at 20 feet, my depth of field is actually 1 foot, 2.4 inches. So that's going to give me about this much space that's in focus. That's where I can actually make sure that I'm back about 20 feet from my subject, and she's gonna be completely in focus, and everything in front and behind will be blurred out. If I change that and I say that I'm 5 feet from my subject, so about 5 feet from my subject, it actually now says that my depth of field is 0.9 inches, so less than 1 inch. So if I shoot from 5 feet away, that's actually probably 6 feet, but if I shoot from about 5 feet away, her eye is gonna be crisp and everything else is going to start to blur out. So this calendar is fantastic. It also tells you like near distance, so what is actually going to be nearest and what's out of focus. So the near distance is 4 feet, 11.6 inches. The far distance in focus that is 5 feet, 0.0 or 0.4 inches. So that is a sliver of information that's actually in focus. So I'm gonna test that out here real fast. So I'm gonna go about 5 feet away from Selah. Selah, you just give me a beautiful pose. I've got my camera, or my flash is off here to camera right. Okay, so I've got Selah in this beautiful pose. With the 85mm at 5 feet away from her, really all I'm gonna get is probably mid forearms up on her in this pose. 1, 2, 3. And so I will post the photo up on the screen so you'll actually be able to see. And I will zoom in so that you can see what's actually in focus and what is not in focus. All right, so now what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna keep everything the same, keeping the light here where it's at, keeping Selah where it's at, but now I'm gonna go back about 20 feet. So using that digital depth of field calculator, again, 85 millimeters, full frame camera, f1.2 on my aperture, 20 feet away, I have 1 foot that's going to be in focus. Basically 1 foot, 2 inches. And so Selah's giving me that pose again. We're gonna shoot the shot, 1, 2, 3. All the settings are the exact same. And now, when you actually see the photo, when I post it up, you're gonna see her whole body is in focus as opposed to just the eye being in focus. And that's depth of field. And again, that's gonna change based off of the lens that you have, the camera body that you have. This is the way that I see it. And like I said, this really kind of blew my mind when I realized what was actually happening with the camera, with that depth of field, what's in focus, what's not in focus, using that calculator. Again, I don't use the calculator anymore, but you use it enough to kind of learn it, and you're gonna actually start to understand what that depth of field can do and what it actually can do for your photos. Selah, thank you so much for your time. I really appreciate it. Jessica, thank you for being my camera person back there. Hopefully you like what you've seen so far. Please like, comment, and subscribe. Hit the little bell notification so you can be notified every time I post a video, which is basically Wednesdays. Until next time, keep shooting.
Of course.
I will actually post her thing, so I will actually post. Selah, what is your Instagram?
Selah MCK.
Okay.
I don't know.
Is there any underscores? That's okay. Okay, let's try that again. Selah, what is your...
I can't stop laughing.
I know. This is how we start the video. That's why I get the outtakes.